This affirmation is for those that find themselves in a season of being on a journey, whether it is that you're waiting for something, whether it is that you are working towards something, trying something again, whatever it may be. This affirmation breakdown is for you, and I'm pretty excited to jump right into it. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to this week's live affirmation breakdown. If you are new, my name is Jelly Williams. I am the founder of the Liveverse. I'm a therapist and a faith coach, and I help imperfect Christians like you and me keep our relationship with God simple, healthy, and authentic so you don't have to feel like you're going through life alone. And so today's affirmation is I will trust the journey. And we're going to start with our usual one-word check-in of how your week is going. And I say one word because I want you to be intentional about the word. And so just one word of how your week is going, whether your week is going good, you put good or whatever word you want. If your week is going bad, you'll put bad. And if your week is going good, we'll celebrate with you. And if it's going bad, we'll hold space for you. So go ahead and drop that into the chat and let's check in with each other. All right. So today's affirmation, I will trust the journey. And I want to talk about journey today because I've been having a lot of conversations with my friends and my TLV fam, and a lot of us seem to be in journeys that are just hard right now. They just aren't going the ways that we want them to go and are struggling a bit with that. And so I want you to just let me know in the comments, are you on a journey right now? And if so, how is it going? How is it going? I just want to provide some encouragement as we do that. So while you put that in the chat, I want to define the word journey. So like, what does journey even mean? And journey simply defined is an act of going from one place to another. That's it. That's all that journey means. And so today, as we talk about that, I wanted to share the three biggest things I'm learning as I'm trusting God on the journey that He has me on. And for those that are new, you may not know, but my current journey is I recently relocated from New York to North Carolina. And so that has been quite the journey, actually. And so these are the things that I have been learning while in process because it definitely has not been going how I expected it to go when I moved, right? And so the first is actually a reminder of something that I say to my therapy clients quite often, and it's that growth either feels icky while it's happening or it feels like nothing at all is happening, right? Because when we're on a journey, it usually, hopefully is about growth, right? And so I think this is an important reminder because a lot of us don't remember, myself included, that right. Journey doesn't feel good, or growth doesn't feel good when it's actually happening. We tend to remember the results of journeys, right? That end goal, that end place, that destination that we reach, and how awesome that was. But it's not until we're in another journey that we're struggling again that we're like, right, this is normal. The struggle is normal because this is actually what growth is supposed to feel like. It's supposed to feel icky, right? For example, if you're having to tell someone no, right, who's asking you to do something for them, and that people pleaser that you're trying to work on, that side of yourself you're trying to work on, is giving you crap, making you feel bad about yourself because you said no, but that's growth, right? It feels icky, but soon you'll learn how to set boundaries, right? And so growth doesn't feel good when you're waking up at 6 a.m. every morning to go run up some hills with your personal trainer, right? And you have to ask yourself, is this even worth it when your body's in pain and you don't see the abs after 2 days, right? I'm kidding, but I'm not. But that's how it feels, right? What happens when you've been waiting 6 months, when you've been committed 6 months and you still don't see the results? Sometimes growth takes time and you see nothing while it's taking its time. And so it's not always the funnest. And so I do want to make another point that while growth does not feel good while it is happening, it is always worthwhile in the end. And I'm going to prove it to you using this verse in Habakkuk 2 to 3 in the Message version. And it says, and then God answered, write this, write what you see, write it out in big letters so that it can be read on the run. This vision message is a witness pointing to what's coming. It aches for the coming. It can hardly wait. And it doesn't lie. If it seems slow in coming, wait. It's on the way. It will come right on time. And I love this verse because it's a reminder that there is a reason God says to write down the vision, right? Because when we first get that vision, we're all excited, we're all ready to go. We're like, yes, this is going to happen. I'm going to do this. And then day 24, you're like, I don't know. Is it really going to happen? But you continue anyways, right? And then day 36, you're like, oh, this? I'm not really so sure anymore. Doubt begins to creep in, right? And then day 174, you're like, Lord, actually, this is getting really hard. This sucks, right? And so having that visual reminder of this is what God says. The vision may seem slow in coming, but it will happen. And so sometimes, and if you're like me, sometimes where every day feels like a struggle, you're going to need to read it every day. And so this brings me to the second thing that I'm learning when it comes to trusting the journey. And it's that growth requires commitment, right? Commitment to the vision. And in other words, growth requires commitment to the unseen. And I don't know if any of y'all are a Bible nerd like me, but when I thought about that, I was like, wait, like, this sounds familiar. Commitment to the unseen. It sounds like faith, right? How faith is defined in Hebrews 11:1, and I'm going to read it to you. So I'm going to read the Passion Translation version here. And it says, now faith brings our hopes into reality and becomes the foundation needed to acquire the things we long for. It is all the evidence required to prove what is still unseen. This verse is a reminder that the only evidence you need of growth while it's in process is your commitment to it, right? Not a commitment to a certain outcome, not a commitment to a certain timing of how you wanted things to go or when you wanted things to happen, but you are committing to the act of growth, to the process of growth, right? When you say, I will trust the journey, you are committing to a process, not to an outcome, right? Not to a certain timing, but to the process. And I think that this is a very important mental shift, and I know it was a much needed one for me, but it's an important mental shift because it helps us to loosen our grip, right? It helps us to stop micromanaging, right? So it helps us stop saying, oh, like, I want this to happen at this time and I want it to happen in this way. Because what we're really doing is we're micromanaging God, right? God gives us a vision and then we begin to figure out all the little ways we want the how to happen, right? So when we're saying that I will trust the journey, we're saying I will trust God. And if we're micromanaging, that means we're not trusting God. We're definitely not trusting the journey, right? And so that brings me to the third thing that I've been learning on this journey. And it's that journey requires rest or it will suck the joy out of the process. And I'm speaking from experience, y'all, because that's exactly what happened with me, right? I was getting so caught up in how I wanted things to go and how I wanted things to look and when I wanted things to happen that I was just bitter, like all of the time when none of it was happening, right? And I had to stop and I had to really say, Jel, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? Like I legit had to be like, pause. What is going on here, right? And so, ooh, I lost my point. Here we go. And so I want you to, when you find yourself on the journey and you find yourself in a place where you're finding it hard to hold on to joy, I want you to think about, what is stopping me from holding on to joy right now? And I want to go back to what made me want to check myself. And it's that this new season, summer had ended and fall, the new season of fall starting, made me realize that um, we tend to trust seasons changing, right? Like, for example, when summer starts, there is no indication that fall will come. None at all. Like the leaves are green, the trees are thriving, right? Nothing is falling off, nothing is dying. Yet we know that fall will come. Like we're rushing around to make sure we can live our best life during the summer and make sure we can get everything done before fall hits. This is the mentality that we have when summer is there. And so why is it that we can trust that summer will come, fall will come, Winter will come, spring will come. What is it about it that makes us trust seasons? And the answer is experience. We trust that the season will come because we've been through this before. And it's the same with our journeys with God, right? When we're saying that I will trust the journey, we can trust the journey because we know God and we trust God and we believe that He's a faithful God and we've been through it before, right? And the reason you've been through it before is because you're still here today. You can still say, all right, I mean, you're watching this live right now and God's reminding you of His faithfulness. And so whether it's a new journey that you're on, whether it's an old journey that you feel like you've been repeating and that you're still in, right? God is faithful. So if you can trust that fall will come, you can trust that God will come through for you. So my question for you today is, do you trust God, right? When you say I will trust the journey, you're asking yourself, you're saying to yourself, I will trust God. And so one thing I want to point out here is that when the journey gets hard, this is when your habits and coping skills are most important. This is when they're most important. And here's why. In Isaiah 26:3, it says, you will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you, all whose thoughts are fixed on you. And the peace God gives us is not like the peace the world gives us. And I made a YouTube video on this, but I'll break it down really quickly now. But the peace the world gives us is based on circumstances, is based on things, it's based on a foundation that is always changing, right? And here's proof. The world, what it was like when you were born, and no matter how old you are, but the world that it's like now, regardless of your age, is very different, right? Because we live in an ever-changing world. It's always going to be changing, which means the peace that the world is going to offer is always going to be changing. It's fickle, right? It's not a peace we want to hold on to. Whereas the peace God gives us, that's a firm foundation. That's a stable peace because God is never changing, right? God is a solid God who we can trust. And so we want to hold on to the peace that God gives us. And so when we're not able to rest easy in perfect peace, our trust is in the wrong place, right? And when our trust is in the wrong place, it makes our journeys harder than they need to be, especially when God is saying right here that He will keep us in perfect peace, all who place their trust in Him. And so when we say to ourselves, I will trust the journey, we have to ask ourselves, what's hindering my trust? And be honest. Do that self work. Is it fear? Is it impatience? What's really stopping me from holding on to peace as I go through this journey? And then commit that hindrance to God. Do it every 5 minutes if you have to, right? Remember that growth requires commitment. So if you need to, Lord, I commit this doubt to you. I'm struggling right now. I'm not sure about this uncertainty, but I lay it at your feet. And if 5 minutes later you find yourself nervous and anxious again, do it again, right? A lot of us are upset that, like, oh my gosh, I wish I can just constantly be in a place of peace or constantly be in a place where I'm not always doubting. But remember, growth feels icky and it feels like nothing at all is happening while it's in process. And sometimes it feels like just a lot of repetition, right? That's where the commitment comes in. The more you're able to cast that doubt and cast that fear down to God, the more room you're making for peace. And so I want to end on this last bonus point. And I know I talked about this at the beginning of this live about writing the vision down and reminding ourselves of it daily. And while that's, very important, there's a bigger reason we need to learn to trust the journey, right? There's a bigger reason behind this affirmation. Self-work is a good thing. And, God wants to prune us and change us and get us ready for that next season. But even more so, God wants to spend this season with us, right? This very season, when this current season, the season of growth, God wants to spend it with you. He's not waiting for you to get to that next season. He's not waiting for you to become that next level person you're trying to become. He's like, I just want you to spend this season with me now. And so when you affirm that I will trust the journey, I want you to remember your why. And your why is what and who makes it so you can trust the journey. And it's God and His faithfulness, right? So I want to leave you with this verse that has really touched my heart in this current journey that I'm in. And it's Psalm 62 in the Passion Translation. And it says, trust only God in every moment. Tell Him all your troubles and pour out your heart longings to Him. Believe me when I tell you, he will help you. Pause in his presence. The next time you affirm, I will trust the journey, I want you to pause, take a deep breath, and just say a prayer to God. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It could be a smile. It could be an, oh God, I thank you. It could be, God, I need your help, right? Whatever it is, just pause and acknowledge God. Pause in his presence and see how he will help you. If you're in a journey that feels icky or you feel like you're not seeing any growth happening, I encourage you to read all of Psalm 62, especially in the Passion Translation. I found it very encouraging, and helped me strengthen to continue on my own journey in times of struggle. And so we're going to do our daily affirmation exercise as we end. And so we do this every week for those that are new. What's going to happen is I want you to type into the chat, but do not hit enter. Don't hit enter, just type into the chat. We're going to hit enter at the same time so we can see it all coming down. But I want you to type into the chat, I will trust the journey. So go ahead and type that into the chat. And while you do that, here's how the rest of the exercise goes. I will say the affirmation first, and then I will take a deep breath. I mean, we will all take a deep breath, and then we will say the affirmation together. And I know I can't see you or hear you, but I'm believing and trusting that you're saying it out loud to yourself. All right, so the affirmation is, I will trust the journey. And so let's take our deep breath. And let's say it together. I will trust the journey. And you can go ahead and hit enter into the chat. So whether you're watching this live or you're catching the replay, the records now show that you've committed to the journey, right? You're not committing to the outcome. You're not committed to the timing, but you're committing to trusting God, that he's got you, right? That God is faithful and he will do what he said he will do, okay? And so, TLV fam, you are loved beyond measure, okay? You are loved beyond measure. I'm loving seeing all the I Will Trust the Journeys into the chat. I want to invite you to join my free newsletter. I'll go ahead and type that into the chat for you all. But I have some very exciting stuff coming down, so you definitely want to be on that newsletter so you can be aware of what is going on. Okay, it loaded into chat. Awesome. So I hope that you all have a good rest of your week, right? Holding on to this affirmation when things are hard, when things feel like they're not going the way that you want, reminding yourself to take a deep breath and affirm, I will trust the journey, right? Come back to this video if you need to. There's no shame in that. Or save some of the verses that we talked about and read them, when you need them. Okay. You all are loved. I will see you. Bye. I love being able to connect with you all on a more personal level. I hope you see this affirmation differently now and can begin to apply it to your life in powerful ways. If you enjoyed today's episode as much as I did, spread the love by leaving a review over on Apple Podcasts or by liking this video and subscribing to the Live Verse channel here on YouTube. To catch the next live, make sure you follow me on Instagram at It's Jalot so you can receive some encouragement in real time. It's a space where you can come every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time and let go of whatever the week has brought you and pick up some hope and encouragement instead. We'll break down another affirmation and share some encouragement that'll help us to refuel to finish the rest of the week out strong. I would love to see you there. Looking for more content while you wait for the next live event? Check out this video right here to help you keep encouraged until next time. As always, you are loved, TLV fam, and I hope to see you again soon.